I want to have a chat about using Blade in Statamic today. And when you do a new install, all of the templates are going to be built using Antlers. And I'm not here to poo-poo on Antlers. Antlers is really easy to learn. It is really powerful. But I'm finding that given I do some other project work in the Livewire space, the mental shift of going from Blade components back to Antlers, it's a speed bump that I can actually bypass. So Statamic will allow us to use Blade instead of Antlers for our templates. You can even use them alongside, so you can make parts of your site use Blade and parts of your site use Antlers. But that doesn't overcome that speed bump of the mental shift between writing a Blade component or a Livewire component and writing within Antlers. So what I want to look at today is how we can actually set up our Statamic site to use Blade completely. Now, one little thing that we are going to look at first. Now, this is a clean Statamic 6 install, and out of the box, we do have this home file. I want to keep that, and I'm just going to make that be our default file. And then within our content, the home file, it was meant to use home. We're now just going to clear that. That's just to make it a little easier, so we only have our layout and our template, one of each. Just makes it a little easier for now. Okay, so we've got our site, all good. Very first place to start is actually jumping into the docs. So let's go to V6 docs, and we want to go to front end. Then we go to Blade templates, and this is where it's going to have all of the information that we need to understand how to get the most out of our Blade templates within Statamic, including how to use tags, how to use modifiers. So work through these. But what we want to have a look at today, if we scroll down on the right, we have this layout section, which is going to help us understand how to get or how to configure our site to use Blade instead of Antlers. Now, anytime we do want to use Blade, if you only want to make parts of your site use Blade, just rename the .antlers.html to .blade.php. So let's get ourselves going. So we're going to have a template, and that needs to extend our layout. We have a section, and we then yield it. So if you're used to the Laravel world, this is going to make a lot more sense for you. So let's just go through and make those changes now. We're going to rename our default file to be default.blade.php, and we're going to rename our layout.blade.php. Okay. So you'll see here we've got some red squiggles. PHP Storm isn't happy with us because we are no longer actually writing valid Antlers. Blade is expecting that $sign. Now in Statamic with Antlers, the pipe allows us to use modifiers. So we're using the we don't modifier here. Just because modifiers are a little more verbose, let's just remove that for the moment and ignore it. But what we do want to do is we also want to escape it. So we would have our content. Now, within the context of our template here, we also have this page variable, and I like using this because it means it's going to give us better context and scope around our actual page. Personal preference, I just like it, so that's what we're actually going to do here. Now, remember, this is needing to extend our layout, and we need a section called body, and let's end that section as well. Easy, cool. Let's jump over to our layout. Now, instead of our template content, so this is where Statamic is going to put our content, we can change that to be a yield, and we want our body. Easy. Now, we still have some more squiggles we've got to get rid of. Statamic is going to give us this site variable as well, so we can $sign it. There we go. And instead of using the colon to access a property, we can then just use our arrow. So we can replace title with page title. We can replace site :name with that. And with Statamic 6, we can also use these really cool new little tags. So we're going to do that for Vite, and we're good to go. So if we jump back over to our site and reload it, nothing really changes. We had a layout change because remember we got rid of the we don't. But if we just go through and say, this is my Blade template, and refresh, you can see we're now running with Blade. How easy was that? Now that's getting up and running, and if you're happy using extends and using yield, go for it. Personally, I don't like it. I like the way that components now exist within Blade, and we can also get Statamic to use our layouts and templates within components, and I really like that approach. So let's go through and do that. Now there's a couple of things we're going to do here. First of all, there is a section of the docs about passing context. I'm going to keep referring back to that, but go through that and give that a little bit of a read as well. Very first thing we're going to do is we are going to create a new component. I'm going to call this layout, and we want the class and blade. So what this is going to do for us is create our class, components.layout. That's straightforward enough. And our layout now is in our components folder, and it's just empty. What we can do is pinch all of this markup, plop it in there, and instead of yield, we will have our slot. Now I'm going to do the cheeky thing and even delete this one, just so we're not getting confused and I'm not trying to gaslight you here and show you just how easy this really is to go. Okay, so we've got this site variable. We don't really know where that's coming from yet. So in our layout component, we can jump over here and we just want to copy these two methods. Now what this is going to do, we actually don't need the context defined there. We are now passing context to our layout. We are merging the parent data that it has with that context and providing that to our template. So what we need to do now is if we jump over to our template, we can change this to be X layout. And we'll do that as well, get rid of the section. This is my blade template using the layout. So again, we can just make some changes here. But remember, the layout requires this context thing. And this is what we need to do to provide a little bit more data. Now, Statamic has this lovely magic variable called $__data. And this is going to provide the information that gives our layout a little bit of context. So let's just do a little bit of formatting here. Beautiful. Okay, so as you can see in our class, we're expecting context. We're merging that with the data that our layout is going to get. So here is our layout. We're passing the data. And there is our actual layout file. Let's go and check it out and see what we've got. Hit refresh. This is my blade template using the layout. Cool, easy, yeah? Now, I like keeping things organized. So let's go through and do a little bit of organization here. So I'm actually going to create a folder here called layouts. And I want to move my layout into that. And we'll also do that with our view. Up here, let's go to layouts. We're going to drag you up in there. Okay, so that's now going to be layouts.layout, which, look, you could keep that, but it feels a little cumbersome to me. So I'm actually going to call this one main. So let's refactor this. We're going to call the whole thing main. Okay, lovely. Main, beautiful. We still have the context, components.layout.main. So better go through and rename this too. We just want that to be main. You with me so far? You're following along? Okay, so now what we've got to do, instead of using X layout, it's going to be layouts.main. And let's just close that off as well. Cool. So that means that we can now actually have multiple layouts within our Statamic site, but it's now all organized nicely within that layouts folder. So let's just jump across. Cool, everything's still there. Now, what's this context thing? This is the question. So yes, it passes this additional information to now our main layout. So we have this site variable. Without going through these steps, Statamic doesn't know what that site variable is. So what use is that? What this allows us to do is pass page context to other components. And all of our blade components just live within their own little ecosystem. So they don't know where they live or what else is around them. And yes, you can pass props down to your components, but if you have nested components, you could be passing a lot of information a little bit unnecessarily. So let's say, for example, we wanted to have a component. This is completely trivial. Let's call it updated at .blade.php. And let's just give it a div. Updated at component. Okay, so all this is going to be is a simple component that we might want to use somewhere else within either our template or our layout. So if we go x updated at and go and refresh our page, we now have the updated at component. So we're using it, which is great. But what if we wanted to move this somewhere else? Or what if we wanted to use something about the page that we're on within that component? Well, we can use the, helps if I get my keyboard right, the aware directive. We want to be aware of a variable called page. So what we can actually do now is we can say page updated at, because we're now aware of this page variable. There we go, January 6th. Now, we can make it do some time zone stuff. Now, check the docs for this one. There have been some changes to the way that dates may be used in your site, so just double check that as you go. But what we want to do is we want the display time zone, and we want to format it. Let's go GIAL. What do we want? JSFY. I think that's right. Let's give that a go. There we go. 4:20 on Tuesday, the 6th of January. Down here. Cool. Okay, so You might be wondering, well, what's the point of having this in the same file? Well, what if we wanted to move that into our main layout? What if we wanted to put it somewhere else? We can now actually have that component be aware of the page even outside of the template that it's in itself. Does that make sense? Have you got your head around that? Go through and give these docs a bit of a read. It will go through it as well, of exactly what we've just done about how we can create a reusable component that is now aware of the page that it's on. So an example could be like a menu link where you need to know what the current page is. This will allow you access to the page so you can do those tests, but without explicitly passing the page as a prop to the component. So that's what I really like about it. But what we've got now is we have this nice organized, actually, it's not organized yet. One more thing I would like to do. Let's create a templates folder and let's just bump default into that. Look, this is just to keep things organized. Let's keep it all nice and neat and organized, yeah? But what we've got is we now have a complete Blade setup within a Statamic site. Using Blade components, including for our layout, we can have multiple layouts, we can use multiple templates. But everything is now in Blade components, and that makes me happy. We now also have the ability to make a component aware of the page that it's on. That's awesome as well. But really quickly, we've been able to take our Statamic site from Antlers to Blade, and we can now get up and running. If you're building a site that is going to use a lot of Livewire, this is fantastic. If you have a team that is used to using Livewire or Blade, this is a great way to then remove any barriers. They don't need to learn Antlers. It's just a lot smoother of a process for you. And, look, you get some nicer syntax highlighting in PHP Storm using Blade instead of Antlers. And I know that's a small one, but look, makes me happy. The other thing is that with Statamic 6 as well, there are those new tags that will make syntax highlighting a lot better for Statamic 6 in PHP Storm. But look, it's at least an option. So I'm moving forward this year with Blade in Statamic. This is just the starting point. Hopefully you've learned something, but don't forget to check out the docs to see all about how you can use your tags and modifiers and all of the Statamic magic within your Blade templates as well, because that's just as important. But hopefully this has gotten you up and running to then be able to build your own sites with Blade in Statamic as well. So let me know if you're team Blade or if you're team Antlers or if you're a little bit of both. And yeah, I can't wait to come back and have a chat with you about something else soon. So we'll see you then. Thanks.